Thanks, Christy, and quite a few words to say in there, and also to Bill and the Pay Dirt team, just thanks for your time this morning, and I provide an update on the Poseidon project, and specifically our Black Swan project. As Christy mentioned, my name's Craig Jones, I'm a mining engineer. I've got a significant experience in building companies and operating mine sites, and I'm here today to talk to you about Poseidon and bringing them back into a nickel producer. So I'm here for the long journey, and I hope you'll join me too. Standard disclaimer. We've all been hearing a lot about the demand for the raw materials that the battery thematics are requiring into the future as we operate as an industry. It's estimated we need about 4 times the amount of nickel to be supplied into the market. And I know Sally mentioned yesterday we need 79 new nickel mines to be in production. That's a lot of work to meet the demand. Fortunately, at Poseidon, we have nickel, and we've got about 400,000 tonnes of nickel. We've got the 3 projects, Black Swan, which I'll talk about today. We released the positive BFS late last year. The Lake Johnson project, where we have an exploration project underway today, exploration program underway that started this week. And the historical Mount Windara, which has got 150,000 tonnes of nickel over 2 projects. But today, as I mentioned, I want to go into more detail on the Black Swan BFS and leave you with 3 key learnings about our project. It's very favourable to the project is the level of technical detail that we've put into the BFS. It's very important to make sure you really understand your ore body, and we've spent a lot of time and a lot of work, a lot of studies done to make sure we really understand that. It does have robust economics to support the restart in today's economic environment, and we still have a lot of strong opportunity for growth at the projects. So here's our Black Swan project, just a bit of history. It was in production between 1996 and 2009. It produced about 180,000 tonnes of nickel over those 12 years, and it was shut down when the nickel price fell out of the market. So fast forward to today, we released our BFS last year. It's got a $250 million NPV and 103% IRR at the spot prices at the time. A 4-year mine life to start with, and we're looking to grow that as the project advances. And it does come with a low capex restart. All right. It's about a $50 million restart there. Working? Not working anymore? Oh, there we go. Do we go back? Last 12 months, if we can talk about it, if it comes up on the screen. So we've had a very busy 12 months at Poseidon. So we completed the BFS, which I'll talk about more today. The resources have grown. We've managed to update the reserve of the project with 35,000 tonnes of nickel coming out as a reserve. A lot of test work has been done with the metallurgical breakthrough with the addition of a regrind circuit at Black Swan, which will help with the introduction of the Silver Swan tails and improve a smelter grade concentrate that we can sell to market. We're also identifying a path to market for a rougher concentrate, which will help us process the talc carbonate material at the project. Historically, this has just been stockpiled, so we'll essentially be able to double the resource. The Windara gold tailings, we have a project partnership ongoing up there to retreat some of the gold tailings, and we successfully raised $12 million through a private placement and an SPP earlier in the year. Just touching on the resources, you can see in the schematic there, we've got about 5 different feed sources that we'll introduce over the life of the mine. And you can see the as-built of the pit. It's a very flat bottom pit. As I said, the mine just stopped in early 2009. So there's ore in the bottom of the floor of the pit, so that's ready for start-up as well. Silver Swan, there's been a lot of work done over the last couple of years. It's dewatered and all the services are in place. So quite minimal works to get that back into production. And Golden Swan into the southern terrace we'll talk about as well, but that's about 80 metres shy of the development with the drill drive that was placed in a couple of years ago. Regarding the inventory, we just spoke about it there as well, but we've recently completed a drill program from the pit floor where we can convert some of the inferred material into the indicated. The assay results coming in as we speak, so about 70% of the assays have been coming back, but the important point to note is the assays are as expected, so there's no surprises in what we're seeing in the assays, which is good. I would expect more material to be added into the life of mine as we convert the inferred material to indicated so we can put it in the mine plan. There's a picture of the open pit and a schematic that you can see there. So as mentioned, you can see that there's ore in the floor of the pit. So essentially the first truck that I need to put onto the project, we can bring ore out of the pit there as well. It is focusing on the serpentinite material, which will give us the clean smelter grade concentrate. And we are looking at the expansion project. So as the pit will mine deeper, there's a more metallic material coming into the project, and if we can find that path to market to produce that rougher concentrate, will significantly expand the project. Underground, as mentioned, it's essentially ready to go. A lot of work's been completed over the last couple of years. There've been decline rehabilitation projects, all the pumping, electrical reticulation, ventilation is all the way down to the bottom of the mine. The mine plan has been put together slowly and methodically, so we can ensure the minimum dilution and the maximum extraction of the resource. It's quite high grade down there, and we need to make sure we can get it all out done well. It's a simple yet complicated mining method. It's bottom up, cemented rockfill, but at the depths that we're mining at Silver Swan, that's the method that we need to use. Moving through to some of the feed sources, as I mentioned, we have the underground and open pit material, but there is considerable surface stockpiles left over from the real days when the mine shut down, and we are looking to reprocess the Silver Swan tails as well. So we'll have an opportunity to optimise the schedule to sort of maximise cash flows as we restart the project, so we choose where we spend that capital. And I will point out that the surface stockpiles and the tails, even though they are indicated resources, they're not included in the current reserves. Processing, historical operation, there's a lot of infrastructure on site. As mentioned, the plant has produced 180,000 tonnes of nickels historically. It is a simple flow sheet and all equipment is still on site. So a single stage crushing, and then we go into a SAG mill with a flash flotation to recover the high sulphide component of the feed. Then it runs into the float circuit and we'll pull it out to regrind it to further unlock the finer grain millerite material, and then back into the float circuits, and then on through concentrate thickening and then into filtration. So it is a well understood process, and all the material is on site. I did touch on the metallurgical breakthrough that was put together through all the test work and the studies that was done. So you can see in the image there the old green mill, so that's the original Silver Swan mill. It's about 150,000 tonnes per annum throughput that was used before the open pit was being mined. So we'll add the tails into our process flow sheet to increase the iron content of the final concentrate, which will help improve the concentrate qualities for what the smelters are requiring. And it's about a 0.9% head grade of the tail, so we can still get some nickel recovery and get more nickel units by adding that in there as well. Regarding the concentrate quality, we've got a very strong interest from multiple parties on that concentrate spec that we've put out. Some critical test work has been completed to understand the ore and make sure we can achieve that concentrate. So a lot of test work has been done, and I keep reiterating on that point that there's a lot of work that we have done on there over the last couple of years. And we are talking with the shortlisted parties to continue through to look at all the multiple offers that we've received. Also regarding the study with the capital costs, I did mention earlier on it's sort of a low capex to a restart. There's about a $50 million requirement for the development capital, which is relatively small for a restart, and there's another sort of $50 million required over the next 4 years for the life of mine capital, with the pit cutbacks and some infrastructure works, as well as the underground development, which is a low-cost alternative to many other projects. Operating costs, again, it's a high-cost operating environment that we are in at the moment, but we have done and released a study with all updated costs and quotes, to reflect the market conditions, so accounting for labour, materials and the reagents that we expect to be using. I do think some of the mining costs, talking to the contractors that are out there at the moment, they're starting to plateau a little bit, although not necessarily falling as such, but certainly not increasing as steep as they have been over the last couple of years, which is a good sign. I think Victor mentioned it yesterday, but the concentrate transport costs to shipping around the world are also starting to come down off historic highs, so that's helping as well. I mentioned earlier we used the spot prices from November last year, so when we're looking at those, they're still a little bit higher than what they are today, but the project came out with a $248 million NPV, 103% IRR with a 1.5-year payback. mainly due to the low capex requirements and the 4-year mine life that we currently have, and we'll look to expand on that as we get into the project and do some more drilling. From an ESG point of view, we do expect to have the power supplied from the grid. We've already got the power lines running to site from the historical operations when it was running, and we do have confirmation of supply from the suppliers that we can get the power down the lines, which is good, and we're also got an assessment underway to just understand our greenhouse gas emissions and identify any opportunities to reduce those a little bit further. From a permitting point of view, we do have all the historical permits in place which allow us to restart the project. I do need to update the works approval to reprocess the Silver Swan tails and also do the next stage of the tails dam lift. And we've also got the mining proposal and mine closure plan, which has been updated with the planned activities, and that's submitted in place. So it's a good tick of approval for the project to have all the permits in place, because for new restarts they can take some time and there's a lot of work required to do that. Just touching on to the next steps for where we're at the moment, we'll continue those offtake and financing discussions with the interested parties that we have. With ongoing discussions with parties for the mill refurbishment as well as the mining operations. We'll continue to update the mineral resources. As I mentioned earlier, we've got 70% of the assays we've received with no surprises coming back in those results. So we'll update that and then we can update the reserves into the mine plan. We'll continue on our study with the expansion project, which will hopefully significantly improve the resource and the project economics, and we're still on track for an FID later this first half. So I've got a little fly-through video. We'll sort of have a look at that if it starts. Here we go. To sort of run through the project to give you an idea of where we're located. Black Swan project is about 40 kilometres north of Kalgoorlie, up the Yarrie Road. We've got Lake Johnson between Hyden and Norseman, and the Windara project just north of Laverton. All the tenements are 100% held by Poseidon. You can see all the infrastructure's in place, the tailings dam, the pit, everything's nice and close together. Quite easy to manage, and as mentioned, all the infrastructure is still in place on site, so nothing's been removed and scavenged for other projects during the periods that it's been in care and maintenance, and generally in good condition as well. You can see the mill there, the SAG and the ball mill. So the ball mill is what we'll use when we go to the expansion project to get to 2.2 million tonnes per annum, as opposed to just a SAG mill for the 1.1 million tonne smelter grade concentrate. So some historic drilling, and we'll get to sort of fly through underground and see how that all sits together, but there's still opportunities to continue to grow the resources as we can get the opportunity to do some more drilling. As mentioned, the last couple of years they've been doing some work underground, so the decline's had its rehabilitation completed, so that's all safe to access. Some of the infrastructure, you just saw some pumps being updated and replaced to make sure the dewatering activities can continue. Just touching on the resources, you can see the Black Swan, the Golden Swan in the Southern Terrace, the Silver Swan at depth, and as well as the surface stockpiles and the tails. So zooming in onto the pit, you can see the pit floor. As I mentioned, there's ore in the floor there, so we can continue that open pit mining. The pit shape will come up shortly where we can run straight into ore, and then we have to do a cutback on the stage one pit. There he is there. And then we'll move down into the underground. So you can see the stage 2 pit comes through, so that's where we're talking about the expansion project and mining additional talc carbonate material. So these are the reserve designs for Golden Swan. As mentioned, we're about 80 metres short of accessing Golden Swan, and I've got one level of decline to put in to access Silver Swan for the bottom-up method before we continue further at depth. Some historical EM plates that we can see down there to add to our exploration opportunities, and we'll look to exploit those when we can get back underground and do some more drilling. So in total there's about a 35,000 tonne reserve on the project at this point, and we'll look to expand on that as well. Still coming through with some exploration opportunities. We'll drill below the Southern Terrace, below Golden Swan. We can do some more drilling as we get back underground, as mentioned. There's some historical EM plates to drill as well, and there is some historical nickel hits in some historical holes that we'll look to follow up as well. I don't know, I'm nearly out of time, and I will keep sort of just touching on the expansion project. So you can see there, as we mine a deeper pit, we've got more talc carbonate material that we'll look to process. Essentially, if we can get that project with a path to market for the rougher concentrate, we'll double the available resource, and which will unlock significant value for Poseidon. I quickly touched on a couple of those exploration opportunities. Just quickly, before we wrap it up, Lake Johnson, as mentioned, we've got the Lake Johnson project between Norseman and Hyden. Historically, it's produced about 100,000 tonnes of nickel over 12 years. We are looking to do some exploration with the drill program, which is just starting early activities this week. We look to be having the drill rigs turning early April to drill on that western ultramafic contact. And touched on the Mount Windara, there's 84,000 tonnes of nickel being produced up there historically, and we've got about 150,000 tonnes in nickel in the Windara and nearby Siberius deposit. So just to wrap up, I hope you've understood the level of detail and the technical detail that we've put into this study to make sure we really understand our ore body and how we can process and make the concentrate. It does have robust economics in today's economic environment, and we do have an opportunity in front of us to grow these resources. So just in closing, we are an advanced nickel sulphide project in a Tier 1 jurisdiction, significant infrastructure in place with a quick path to production, and a management team with experience in financing, building and operating the nickel mine. So hopefully we can get into production in early 2024 or mid-24. Thanks for your time.